4 championship. My name is Ron Mullins, just off the back of doing a broadcast of the Ray Esports Club Racing League here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, part of the wonderful action that we have from this series. But ready to get things up and rolling here at Rudskogen. Not sure if you shared your thoughts about this track, Adam, and I was seeing you kind of share them in the YouTube chat before I joined the commentary booth. And usually not a fan of this track, but apparently from what you said, you find it with the Formula 4 cars to be a bit of a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I do want to apologize to the viewers for, I've been talking to myself for about 5 minutes because guess what, Ron? I forgot to hit the go live button. We are live now, and everybody heard most of what you were saying. And yes, I was speaking with Tyler in the YouTube chat about how this car, and they didn't even get a flying lap, Ron, so I'll let you do one. I did it all to myself, and I was a good one too, man. But anyways, it's not the greatest track, I don't think. Not my favorite on iRacing, but when it comes to F4s or any car with downforce, I believe that this car with all of the elevation changes sticks to the track much more than, let's say, a Formula V or a Miata, which we see a lot of those go around in turn 3.
Yeah, turn number 3 around this racetrack, oh so difficult, having to go through the gears and scrub off as much speed as you can as you're still turning. It's such a hard bend to try and get right. From my experience running cars around this racetrack, turn 3 and 4, oh so difficult. Part of the many corners around this racetrack that I find rather hard to drive around. Very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel, but nevertheless, these racers certainly proving why they're behind the wheel and trying to get the maximum amount of pace that they possibly can. Currently on the provisional pole is Varun Bali, as we like to refer to him, in that 045 car, currently setting a 1 minute 19.750. Finds himself at a little bit of a gap to himself and Velasco in the 777, so that's 600ths of a second as it stands at the present moment. Some very small gaps still early on into this qualifying session. Haven't even completed the first third of it, as Jason Cotcher, SRG's very own, jumping up to the provisional pole.
Yes, he is, and now we're going to try this one more time. We're following Varun. Okay, yep, he's back. We're following Varun. We all saw him. That is that big drive down into turn 1. I mentioned all the slipstream you're going to get. Turn 2, you got it. You saw him hop that curb before he almost got abducted, but came back. You've got to keep it as tight as you can in turn 2. You wash out. That gives an opportunity to anybody who had a good slipstream to get you down into turn 1. Now you're going through turn 3, a decreasing radius corner. You can see Varun actually got that perfectly. I don't know who that is in front of him, and there's already, oh no, Ron, there's gravel on the track. But anyways, through the S's here, again, with a downforce car like this, so you could get a little bit washy. You could get a lot of understeer when the nose, or when the air comes off of that nose wing. So we'll see what happens there. And again, right here, another pretty difficult corner. Turn 10, the hairpin, but these cars handle it just fine in clean air. Now this one, I wanted to mention turn 12. This is going to be a very easy spot to get it off track or go around if you catch that curb wrong. And I think Varun may have just gotten an off track there. All 4 tires almost over that red and white curbing, but don't worry, we're already into turn 14, and he is waiting for someone to go by, I think, to get a slipstream, but this is that big run down into turn 1, like I was saying, Ron.
Yeah, turn 14, a massive run. This start-finish straightaway, one of basically the longest straightaway around this entire lap. I would count the flat-out blast between 2 and 3, but throughout most of that, it feels like the road is never-endingly bending over to the right. Gotta get the correct direction there, but this still is a wonderful track to drive around. Got introduced into iRacing a couple of years ago. It'd been a part of base content for quite a while in the service as well. Adam, you can attest to this better than I can as to whether or not it was on the surface as base content immediately, or whether or not it slowly became part of base content after it was introduced as paid content.
Well, no, it was always base content. It was a free track. It was advertised as a free track, and everybody freaked out about it. And then they drove it, and everyone was like, I can see why it's based. But it has become much better. I will say that. I will say that the racing, I think, as drivers have gotten used to this track, I will say that I think it's gotten a lot better for racing.
Yeah, I think it's starting to get used a lot more now that the hype has kind of what's the word I'm looking part. The hype has slowly dropped down. These drivers have gotten a chance to drive around this racetrack in an experience where they don't feel like they're forced to. They actually get a chance to enjoy it because there are some enjoyable parts of this racetrack. That hairpin turn number 10 that we just saw Case go through a couple of moments ago is a really fun corner and a good overtaking opportunity that these drivers are going to look to try and use. But other corners around this racetrack, turn 1 and 2, kind of feels like Motorsports Arena Oschersleben, which became a recent part of iRacing based content. I remember doing a broadcast about a year ago at this point on a different company, and my co-commentator kind of compared the two, and ever since then I've never been able to look at turns 1 and 2 of Rudskogen the same.
All right, so we have a couple people in the chat, and I just want to mention the one person in chat right now. Hi, doing good. Amazing thumbnail, or not thumbnail, but tag you have there, Mr. Hi, doing good. We've got a couple people here trying to root on Danush Paborji, sitting right now in third place behind Velasco and Case. And one thing I wanted to mention, Ron, before you got in here, I was following him just a little bit in practice, and Velasco actually did have Case during practice. Case was about 8/10 of a second, sorry, 8/100ths of a second off of Velasco, but now it's almost completely flip-flopped, mirrored.
Yeah, I'm looking through the lap times that those two racers set in practice versus what they've done in the qualifying session. Velasco setting in practice a 1 minute 18.873. Of course, the draft may have had a factor in that as well. I mean, we still have the draft as a factor in this qualifying session open, so these drivers are all sharing the racetrack together. However, in terms of the qualifying, going a little bit slower. Actually, at this point in time, a little bit more evenly matched in terms of the pace, just a little bit slower. Stephen Case, though, setting a 1 minute 18.9 compared to Velasco's 1 minute 18.8 in that practice session. Now breaking into that 1 minute 18.8 barrier. Would actually, looking through, Velasco's practice time would have been enough for the pole, but just barely. It would have been 0.06 of a second, but still time left to go in this qualifying session. We're making it seem like it's all game set match. Right. We're just barely ticking over 9 minutes on the board, so still got about 6 more left to go, and for these drivers that gives 4 or 5 laps to try and get the job done roughly.
Yeah, that should. I mean, yeah, looking at about 118 laps. Now, the thing is, we did mention this last week as well, which took me by surprise, and I'm super happy for it, actually. This is a no-damage league, so if somebody does spin, you still have a chance to keep the car out on track. Now, what that does to the tires, Ron, is a different story. If you try to lock up, especially in a not as technologically advanced car as the F3s or the F2s or the F1s, but it still does a lot that you have to keep the tires underneath you in these cars. Even if it's only for a few laps, they will overheat extremely quickly.
Yeah, the tires in these cars having to do a whole lot of heavy lifting. It's got wings. The Formula 4 cars do have wings. You can see them on the race cars,
sure,
but they're basically painted pieces of wood more than anything else, because they don't provide a whole lot of downforce. They provide some. It's kind of like the aerodynamic properties of, I don't know the best way I can describe this. It's like looking at the downforce generated by a hamster or something like that. I don't really know any other way to describe it. The wings really just added on there just for a little bit of aesthetics more than anything else, some added space to put some sponsored decals. However, it still gives a little bit of dirty air, but the tires having to do a lot of heavy lifting, and in a race like this with the amount of corners that we have to deal with, gonna be really tough. The one thing that is certainly in these drivers' back pockets in terms of managing the tires, as we see a spinner and a big amount of wall contact heading out of turn number 12 a few moments ago. The track conditions as it stands currently 68 degrees as the track temperature, so not too bad, not scorching hot.
No, that was Christopher Wang. Let me try that again. That was, oh my goodness, Ron, that was Christopher Wang that went around, and that is the corner that I was talking about, turn 12. And yes, the heat on the track is probably a good thing because, again, turn 12 is going to be a point of contention. Just keep that in mind.
At turn 12, I've seen some very odd stuff appear there, but one thing appearing already in this qualifying session.
Don't you say it.
Is some grass on the racetrack.
Man.
So it's
Yeah.
I did not want to mention the other G word. There's some tire marks appearing heading through there. How's that, Adam?
Yeah. There's grass and there's a whole lot of gravel, and we've talked about this in multiple broadcasts at this point, Ron. It is just getting intense, and especially we haven't seen cars that rely so much on downforce like these, and I don't know what that's going to do to them. I really don't. This is going to be a first for me.
Yeah, seeing F4 cars deal with that sort of difficulty, that's going to be really, really tough. Our past experience dealing with it here on SMB, Adam, has usually been in a kind of different race car with a name that I usually get conflated between the two, the Formula Fords. And some of the races that you can see every single weekend here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. In those Formula Fords cars, though, you got a little bit of grooves to deal with, so it kind of flings that gravel around a little bit easier. With these cars, though, it's going to be those tire temperatures that are just sticking the gravel to the tires and bringing it back onto the racetrack. Still going to be a factor heading into this 20-minute race that we have coming up, but keeping our fingers crossed that the track will not be... It won't be as dirty as a George Carlin comedy set, we'll put it that way.
Yes, Ron, yes. Okay. I don't know what to say.
Fair enough.
Yep, I don't know what to say to that. And real quick, guys, Ron, I'm going to let you talk for 1 second here. We're closing in on qualifying. I'm seeing a little bit of something going on here on the timing tower with some card numbers. I'm trying to get those turned to all white. In chat, Giaza, yes, this is an iRacing league. This is the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Intermediate League, and they've got a bunch of drivers. Sim Racers Group actually has a brick-and-mortar building in California where it allows drivers to come in and race on sim rigs. Most of these drivers are racing from the comfort of their own home, but some of them are sitting at the complex there at the SRG in California, and we will talk about Sim Racers Group. We're actually going to have Jason Cotcher in for an interview at the end of this race.
That'll be a very nice interview. Jason's a great guy making all of this stuff possible. The head guy over at Sim Racers Group making this series possible in the process. And what a series it has been. Debuted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting just 1 week ago. That race at Mugello, and that was an absolute hoot. So these racers looking to continue on that fun, I'm sure, throughout this broadcast. Adam, we're going to have a heck of a lot of fun over the next, at this point, it's 45 minutes left on the air. I'll know time is an illusion at this point. I've been on the air since about 8:30 here on the East Coast, so knocking on the door of 2 hours. Oh boy, by the end of this broadcast my brain is going to be a puddle, but these racers still putting on a really good show.
No different than normal, Ron.
Yeah, no different. Thank you very much. It's usually a mist, so the fact it has coagulated into an actual liquid puddle is very, very good. No longer suffering from the brain cloud that I usually have to deal with. Definitely. Following Varun Bali in the 045 car, currently finds himself in fourth at the moment. This was a driver who we, great, lots of close stuff all throughout this field. There's a checkered flag now out in the qualifying session.
Here we go. Varun Bali going to be crossing the line. He is green in Sector 2. Let's see. Nope, yellow through Sector 4 as well. I don't think that's going to help him at all. Igor, though, doing a good job here. Green sectors. See where Igor comes across the line. Don't know. And again in the chat, Luca Marioni, Papa Paborgi fan club. We have jackets, so there are quite a few Paborgi fans in the chat tonight. Look at that gap, though. Stephen Case was able to gap Alex Velasco just a little bit, 0.2 of a second between first and second, Ron.
Yeah, that is a pretty small gap. I got to imagine come time for this race we have coming up, if we're going to see that small gap convert into some small gaps and maybe a photo finish to talk about come time for the end of this 20-minute long race, certainly would not rule that out at all. Going to do the quick math in my head to try and figure out roughly how many laps we are going to have from round number 4 of the Sim Racers Group Intermediate F4 Championship. And to all those tuning into this broadcast, first off, we welcome you all in here and hope you're going to enjoy this show that we've got for you here today. A show which is going to consist, I believe, unless my math is absolutely failing me, which, knowing the test scores I used to get, is probably very likely. We have about 15 laps for these racers to try and tackle in this 20-minute race that we have coming up. 15 laps, and doing some more math in my head, 15 laps with 14 corners. That's 210 opportunities to either make or break your race.
Giaza, again, in the chat, that guy died. Giaza, get ready for quite a few deaths. Again, turn 3 and turn 12 going to be points of contention here, but damage is off in this league. That's not how all iRacing leagues work, but damage is off to try to keep the racing a little closer and allow these guys to be able to not suffer so much from their mistakes. So this is going to be a standing start, though, Ron. Remember that. So the second we get the grid, we're going to get through it, and we got to get on the grid.
Yeah, we're going to have to burn through that as quickly as possible. Kind of ran into that difficulty at Mugello 1 week ago, but here we go. Stephen Case going to be starting from the pole. Alex Velasco going to be starting in P2. Danush Parborgi starting this race from the 3rd starting spot. Varun Bali in 4th. Kalen Michaelwitz in P number 5. Jason Cotcher in 6th. Joshua Corin starting in 7th. Christopher Wang in P8. Tyrone Da Silva in 9th. Arthur Ganesh starting in 10th. Jose Navas in P11. Oh boy, Rafael Cardenas starting this race in the 12th starting spot. Then we have Dylan in P13, Thomas Bashir in 14th, Adam Duvall in P15, Diego Posada in 16th, Tyler Hagan in 17th, Aaron Van Wagner starting in P18, Rodolfo Samoido in P19, Ryan Shia, and then you can see looking through the rest of the drivers we have outside the top 20, we have Vase in 21st, Neil Day in 22nd, Jose Fuentes starting this race in the 23rd starting spot. Starting this race in P24 is going to be Ken Glasser. Starting in 25th is going to be Embrite Hyde. Starting in 26th will be Rene Kundersma.
Yes.
There we go. The driver of the number 33 car going to be starting this race in 26th. Igor Grunsky in 27th. Paul M in 28th. The Sim Racers Group car number 48 going to be starting this race in 29th. Ken Glasser in 30th. And running at your 31 car grid is going to be the number 12 Sim Racers Group car, which I am not entirely sure is being driven by at the present moment. But nevertheless, ready to get things rolling from the 4th race of this season. We've got some championship fights to worry about in the Inter 1 and Inter 2 category, and an Inter alien who is hoping not to get abducted by a UFO. Looking through, only a couple of more cars left to take the starting grid before we can get things up and rolling from this race at Rudskogen, which is set to be a rather exciting one. From this season, Mugello 1 week ago was pretty awesome. Rudskogen going to be good as well. Waiting for these drivers to build up the revs, get those clutch bite points fully worked at. The 5 lights are on. The drivers are on their way. That's a very good start from Stephen Case in that 243 car. He's going to be leading them comfortably. Heading off into turn number 1, look at Danush Parborgi, maybe getting some moves done, making hay while the sun is shining, but not successful in an attempt to steal P2 from Alex Velasico. Look at some side-by-side fighting involving Tyrone Da Silva in the 480 car, and some more side-by-side fighting involving Rafael Cardenas, who's already lost out on 2 spots. Not a good start for the driver of the 94 car, and some drivers shuffling all throughout this grid.
Yeah, great start. Everyone got through turn 1, and I thought that was going to be a point of contention, especially with the standing start. Everyone gets through it, but it looks like somebody goes wide there. That is not Wang. Who was that? Was that Da Silva that went wide? Able to hold on to it? No, that was Corwin. Able to hold on to it. Lost 1 position because of that, but Corwin able to keep it under wraps here. Stephen Case back out in the front, not able to really gap Alex Velasco. Now the question is, Ron, dirty air, especially in these cars. We do have a wreck, I believe. Embriet Hyde has gone around.
I think that may have been a moment for Hyde. Let's see it in the number 93 car heading his way through turn number 3 and 4. Bet to head your way through, as I like to call it, the slalom section. That's turn 5 into turn number 6 right now. Got to get on the brakes, drop the anchors through 7, and a spin heading through, and big contact being made, going up into the air and tumbling through. Not sure who that was that made that contact, but either way, a big collision heading through 7 and 8.
I believe that was Aaron Van Wagner that went around here, and let's see where Aaron has come out. That was not Aaron Van Wagner, so that is a great question. I don't know who that may have been. Was that Kundersma that went around? I think it was, yes, because it looks like Embriet is right behind him. But again, look at the nose cone pop back on to the car. So yes, he's going to be able to continue going. And Giaza, are these pro? These guys are not pro, but I say that, but then we have to go look at Stephen Case. He is classed in the Inter-Alien class. Stephen Case knows how to get an F4 around a racetrack.
And he is proving that thus far in this race. However, he's not shaking off the challenge that Velasco is currently providing. 0.3 of a second between those two cars, and you only have to go back a half to find Danush Parborgi in the 023 car. So practically nothing between the front three, running in the podium spots for now as they slowly break away with a 1.2 second gap between Parborgi and Michaelis, as I think there may have been a moment involving De Silva as he's now dropping down the running order in the 480 car.
Yes, he is looking. This is Jose Naves Molina. Oh my goodness, what a move by Adam Duvall into one of the trickiest corners on the track, able to get that move done through turn 12, the one turn that I was mentioning that was going to cause some problems. Great move by Adam Duvall.
Absolute textbook stuff from Duvall. I think we're going to have to take a look at a replay, Adam, because that was brilliant to see a couple of moments ago. Pure bliss if you get a move done like that. It's so satisfying to get a risky move done in the best way imaginable. And here's a replay following Duvall and his perspective in all of this in the 13 car, just heading down the inside into turn number 12. That corner is so clunky to drive around. It feels like no part of it just all feels like a violation of natural law, but Duvall getting a slick move done.
That is not a passing zone that I would consider on this track, but don't look now, because I think is that Naves Molina, who is going to be trying to fight this back if he can. Someone is on Duvall's butt, and that is Naves Molina. So keep an eye on this battle as well. Looks like Paul M has gone around, but we've got a battle maybe trying to form at the front. Looks like a little bit of smoke up there. We've got a wreck back there, a couple corners back as well, Ron. We're just going to stick on this battle, though, because Velasco and Case, Velasco is not letting Case get a good run, but we saw this last week as well from Stephen Case, keeping those tires underneath him, Ron, for 30 minutes.
Yeah, just managing the race as best as you can. Thankfully for him, only 20 minutes of racing action, which is going to be a blessing for those tires and going to be a blessing for those drivers. Don't worry there, Adam. I've been on the air for like 3 hours already today on the back of being on the air for like 5 hours thus far this week. My brain is not feeling itself at the moment. A 2 could be a 3. If you give me a math test at this point in time, I would be absolutely horrendous at it. But looking at some side-by-side fighting, maybe developing, involving Velasco and Parborgi. Parborgi currently holding the fastest lap of the race at a 1:18.920, and looking through in terms of the pace that Parborgi was setting in qualifying, that's about 0.2 of a second quicker than Parborgi's time in qualifying. So kicking on the hyperjets come time for this 20-minute long race.
We've got Corwin and Cotcher locked into a battle as well. Corwin is sitting in 7th, and I believe Cotcher is sitting right in front of him in 6th, so this is going to be a battle to keep an eye on as well. These drivers really have not spread out as much as I thought they were going to. And look, Stephen Case did get away, but Velasco has pulled that gap back in again. But I do want to mention, watch how Stephen Case is getting through these corners. You can tell Velasco is pushing it much harder. A lot of understeer, scrubbing some heat into those tires, and that is not what you want. iRacing's tire model is based mostly on heat. The more heat you put into them, the less grippy you're going to get through the corners, Ron.
Grippy, wowie. Back to the live action. Stephen Case still leading it in the Inter 1 category. My apologies. It's still Velasco leading it. Inter 2, meanwhile, currently being led by Wang in the number 14 machine. There he is, running in 8th at the moment, effectively in no man's land as they have to go back. That'd be about 7 seconds and nearly 8 seconds back to Bashir, Thomas Bashir in the 0-1 car, running 10th at the moment, second of the Inter 2 racers. That's a pretty good advantage for Wang to find himself holding at the moment.
Got Rafael Cardenas and Diego Posada. We had a couple people in the chat as well. There's a bit of a Diego Posada fan club as well here in the chat this evening, Ron. So he's gained 5 positions from the start. You can see it there in the timing tower on the right. Looks like he's going for another one, Ron.
Here we go down the inside through turn number 10. It's not going to be successful for the time being, but still going to be very close to the back of Bashir in that number 01 car. Not close enough, though, but if he gets the move done, I'm curious as to whether or not Cardenas is going to follow him through as well, as I think there may have been a brief swap-a-roof position between Velasco and Parborgi. Look at that, though, coming out of the final quarter. Both those cars blinking uncontrollably. Some alien activity developing already. This is terrifying. Two cars blinking wildly. Some internet connection problems with racers giving us a really good fight. This is dangerous indeed, side by side through 1 and 2, and very close to making contact on corner exits.
Oh, man, that is not where you want to move to be done going through 2 that close together. Now, can he get it done going into 3? I don't think so, because this is not really a passing opportunity. You can see Diego had to slam on the brakes there. You saw it get a little bit wobbly under braking. Just going to live to fight another day and try to get past Brashear some other place. But it looks like Velasco has, well, there was a bit of a swap for a second, but Velasco back up into P2, Ron.
Velasco back up into the lead of the Inter 1 category for now, but these drivers still going to give us a fantastic fight between now and the checkered flag. Parborgi in that 023 car was oh so impressive 1 week ago at Mugello. Finds himself running in 3rd at the time being. Still is the fastest lap of the race, though, at that 1:18.920. At this point in time, though, Adam, very odd to say this, considering we only have 8 on the board. We've hit that midsection of the race with these racers. Maybe we got to start taking it a little bit easier.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Taking it easy in a 20-minute F4 race? Yeah, right, Ron. But we didn't do this last week, so we're going to do it this week. We are going to start from the back of the field and try to get through all of the field right now. Talk about their progress, or their not so good progress so far in the race, to try to highlight all of these drivers that make this league possible. Starting with Rene Kundersma, we saw him have some issues earlier in the race in 28th place, just hanging out by himself right now, and that's not a problem. You can do that. That's no problem at all. And by the way, guys, there's normally a track map on the right side of the screen as well, but there was an SDK update today, the overlay system that we use, that seems to have broken that track map. But Ryan Chia in 27th as well. Then we've got Paul M sitting in 26th. All of these drivers kind of just hanging out back by themselves. We're going to start getting into some battling soon, though. Embriette Hyde, we saw him have an issue going through turn 7. Caused some more issues as well for some drivers in front of him, and we will get to them shortly. Adam Duvall sitting in 24th with Igor Grunsky in 23rd. Jose Fuentes in 22nd with Rodolfo Samudio in 23rd. Oh, my goodness, that is perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect timing for us in the commentary booth. Terrible timing. Don't want to have any sort of incidents befall either of those two racers, but they do. That was heading off through 7 and 8 a couple of moments ago, and that's not the first time we've seen a driver get bit by that bullet thus far in this race, Adam.
No, it's not. That is not really a spot that I figured would be an issue, but it looks like it's is to kind of be an issue. We do see some blinking drivers on track. Welcome to online racing, everybody, so I apologize about that. Excuse me, Ron. So Rob Vaz in 19th with Aaron Van Wagner in 18th position. Neil Day in 17th, and he is locked in a battle right now with Tyler Hagan, and this battle's been going on for quite a few laps right now, Ron.
Yeah, Day and Hagan giving us a nice fight to talk about. These two running in 16th and 17th as it stands currently. I will say, though, as we've been talking about this, Stephen Case has run to some difficulties. He's dropping down the running order like an anvil dropped out of a helicopter. So what's happened to the driver of the 243 car? Now finds himself battling for dear life to hold on to a spot inside the top 5. This has been a terrible series of events for the driver of the 243 car. What is going on with the Inter-Alien? Been abducted by UFO, possibly?
Maybe. So we'll see what happens. We're looking at Stephen Case right now. You can see Varun got a little bit loose behind him, but I think, Ron, that there may be some, hey guys, let's race up here. I think that's what Steven's doing.
And potentially, I mean, I remember going to an indoor go-kart track right outside the city of Philadelphia many, many times and going up to my dad and say, hey, I'm not here to set the best lap of the day. I am here to just overtake some people. That could be what Stephen Case is doing, giving himself a little bit of a challenge, but that is one heck of a mountain to try and climb around a racetrack like this. He got some good overtaking opportunities, especially in these draft-heavy F4 cars, but the problem is, catching up is one thing, overtaking is an entirely different discussion. So let's see if Case will be able to get any sort of main momentum gained to be able to get back in the lead of this race. So as it stands now, Velasco, who has been leading an Inter 1 throughout this race, as we see a spin,
around.
That's De Silva, Tyrone De Silva going for a spin, heading through 3 and 4.
Yeah, but anyways, back to the field here. We're going to try to get through this. Tyler Hagan, we are on board with just gained a position there in 15th. Actually, so did so did Dylan in 14th position. Jose Naves Molina in 13th, kind of riding around by himself right now after some issues again at the beginning. Rafael Cardenas is locked in a 3-way battle with Posada and Thomas Brashear still. So Posada was able to gain 4 positions, but he's kind of mired right now in this battle. So that tells me that Thomas, Diego, and Rafael are pretty much kind of on the same pace. Stevie said it exactly. I think Stephen Case did have a slowdown, probably going through turn 1 and 2. But back to Atul Ganesh up here sitting in 9th place with Christopher Wang rounding out your top 8. Ron, I'll let you take us through the rest.
Yeah, looking through the rest of the drivers that we have in this field, following Christopher Wang as it stands at the moment, your leader still in the Inter 2 category. Here's the series admin himself, Jason Cotcher, doing all the work behind the scenes to make this series and these broadcasts possible, and also giving us a nice little drift to take our eyes out for, heading through turn number 7 and 8. That could have ended in tears, but he still finds himself running in P7 as it stands at the moment. Here's Joshua Korn in the 037, another Inter 1 racer running 6th. A little bit in front of him is the at one point race leader of Stephen Case. He's lost out on some more time. Was running in 4th a couple of moments time. I have a feeling that Case is running into some big difficulties. There you can see him running wide. Actually coming into the pits is Stephen Case. Things have fallen apart for the driver of the 243 car. And I have to wonder, what exactly has caused all of this to go down is the real question. Because, I mean, maybe tire wear, possibly?
I don't know. That's crazy for a 20-minute race. I knew that their tire wear was going to be possible, but I didn't think it was going to go that quick. Kalen Mikowicz, though, that promotes him up into the top 5, sitting in 4th place. Joshua Corwin now in 5th. But Varun Bali trying to hold on to these leaders, but it doesn't look like it's happening because Kalen is on his butt, and it's real tough to try to catch the people in front of you when you're battling with someone behind you, Ron.
Yeah, that's a big thing that these drivers have to keep into their minds. The mind game, such a big factor in these races. Got to be in a good frame heading in around a racetrack like this, where, as I mentioned before we grabbed the green, 210 corners for these racers to try and negotiate in a 15-lap race, which I think is what it's going to equal to, maybe a little bit more, probably 16 laps. I was great at math guys as a kid, but nevertheless, these racers still trying to find themselves in a good groove, find themselves in a good zone, and be in that right frame of mind to do well.
Yep, everybody in the Borgi fan club, though, he is up into P2, and he's trying to hold on to Alex Velasco. Remember, I mentioned Alex Velasco, quickest in practice. He was hanging out with us in the chat last week. He is on the track tonight and doing a great job in first. What does Danush have for him? Can Danush pull any of that gap back? Really looking for a mistake right now from our P1. Our P1 holder at the moment, Ron.
Yeah, still holding on to that lead and extending that gap to himself and poor Borgi. 0.8 of a second, still not something to entirely shrug off as being, oh yeah, that's insurmountable. Still got 5 minutes left to go. Tick under that now as we're just ticking over 15:15 now. Poor Borgi still within striking distance, but he's not doing himself many favors through the mid-sector on this 12th lap. That gap now ballooning to over a second. I wonder if Alex Velasco in that 777 car actually going to be able to hold it off and maybe not give us that photo finish that we were thinking we could have gone. Right as they said that, though, he loses 4/10 through turn number 10 alone. And I think we may have potentially lost my colleague Adam there. There he is. Oh, there we go.
Apologies there, Ron. I'm still not quite over this sickness completely. Had a bit of a coughing fit. Had to go get some water and get a cough drop. But I am back now for the last 4 minutes of this race. And where did we leave off, Ron?
I was just going to mention the fact that Velasco and Parborgi, that yin and yang, it's an accordion effect between these two. Certainly, the noise of the Formula 4 cars is a lot better than any noise that could ever come out of an accordion, but nevertheless, these two have been increasing that gap. A matter of about a lap ago, it was about a second, now dipping below a half. So this is looking to be really spicy up in the
Watch
north end
out.
of the
Speaking of
field.
spicy, though, Ron, going into turn 1, Posada and Brashear. What's going to happen here? Posada on the inside. He's barely able to get that move done on Brashear going through 2.
That was incredibly close to coming to disaster between those two racers, but they get through clean, but they still got some time to continue to go side by side if they so choose to, if they so dare. This fight, though, is the one I'm keeping my attention on. Velasco and Parborgi, they've been running P1 and P2 ever since Stephen Case ran into those difficulties, as I think there may have been a moment involving Posada. He's dropped down the running order, losing out on a little bit of time and some spots. There he is in that 44 car, going very slowly through the slalom section.
Diego Posada had an off track here. Let's go back to it very quickly. Oh, going through turn 3, Ron. Oh, uh-oh. Little bit of, it got worse.
Yeah, that incident snowballed. It was, okay, yeah, going for a drift. Okay, yeah, going for a spin. Okay, yeah, getting hit by a car. And then, okay, yeah, hitting the barrier. So a lot of things going on with Daniel Posada a couple of moments ago. A tough incident to have coming towards the end of this race. 14 laps on the board on the 14th lap right now. Heading through the first few corners are the leader, as Dylan having a moment. That's coming through the final turn of turn number 14, which I don't know about you, Adam, but feels like just about the longest corner in the entirety of motorsports point blank period. It feels like it just does not end.
If I could have the track map up right now, you could see how long that corner is. It is insane. It's almost a 360-degree corner, and he just gets into that white line, that painted surface, and loops it. But yeah, it comes in and then it bubbles out to come around to the front straight. It takes forever to get through that corner. You've got to be extremely patient. But speaking of patient, how much more patience can Danush Paborgi has before he decides to make this move, Ron?
Yeah, he's playing the patient game for now, but the thing about playing the patient game is usually the drivers who are the most patient to a fault will be the ones running in P2 at the line. Not a lot of time left to go. Got the lap traffic to deal with as well. This is going to be a bad thing for
Velasco. Yes, it will be a very bad thing for Velasco. Looks like Paul tries to get out of the way. Did that slow Velasco down too much? No, it did not. Now he's got another driver, Imbriette Hyde, up there. Look, he's got 3 cars to deal with, and we've got one more lap to go, Rod, after this.
Yeah, one more lap of racing action here from the SRG Intermediate F4 Championship. A lot of lap traffic for these drivers to deal with. Looking at some side-by-side fighting a little bit farther in the back involving Rodolfo Samoido and Glasser. They're going to battle for P19 and P20. And look at this, 3 wide, heading through turn number 9. Heading through turn number 7 and 8, sorry. Parborgi, though, getting the move done to take the lead of this race from Velasco, but it's not over yet. Velasco looking to fight back on that inside line. Are they on the white, or are they on the 2 lap to go here, Adam? It's going to be borderline as they're heading through turn number 12. But Borgi getting a move done in dramatic fashion to be able to take the lead of this race. It's still not over yet. Contact being made of Velasco. Going for it, a half spin. Well held from Alec Velasco in that 777. That's going to lose him out on a whole lot of time with only 3, 2, 1. I think the white flag is in the air. They just barely grabbed it at him, but Parborgi getting a move done in dramatic fashion to take the lead of this race. So it's one more lap to hold on, but with that mistake from Velasco, he's going to have to hope for a miracle.
Well, again, the one thing that you have to worry about, even in a 20-minute race around a track this small, is lap traffic, and Paborgi had to get on the brakes. Jose Fuentes left. He didn't do anything wrong. He was just in the middle of the corner. Paborgi and Velasco came with such closing speed. Velasco had to slam on the brakes not to spin Paborgi around, and that's what caused that. But that is okay because the Paborgi fan club is going nuts in the chat right now.
Yeah, they're going to have a party come time for the end of this race. They're getting ready to celebrate, and they only have a few more corners left until the festivities can kick off. Velasco, he was battling with Danush Barborgi not terribly long ago, but now Velasco going to find himself in a hard-fought battle with himself and Michaelwitz to hold on to P2. Look at those two cars covered by practically nothing, dipping below a 10th, heading in that small little flat app list between turn number 12 and 13. That's going to be a close battle to the line. I think it may go the way of Velasco, but Danush Barborgi in the 023 car going to cross that start-finish line to win it here at Rudskogen in dramatic fashion. He wins it not only in the Inter 1 category, but wins it overall as well. A brilliant drive from Danush Barborgi and a fantastic way to get it done. 3 wide through turn number 7 and 8. That threw me for such a loop off the back of my vocal cords, going on strike about 15 seconds before seeing that. Threw me for such a loop. I can't even imagine how those drivers were feeling behind the wheel.
Watch out, though. The battles aren't over yet. Looks like Samudio Day was catching Duval, but Day is actually slowed up. Now this is all within a second, Ron. This could... Samudio's back. We're okay. Everybody's okay. And this is going to be where it gets super interesting, Ron. Let's see what happens between all three of these drivers going through the final. And it looks like Day has closed back in onto the back of Duval, but does he have enough time to get him? I don't think he does.
Yeah, I think if Duval could just nail this exit coming out of the final corner, it's going to go the way of Neil Day in the number 11. Actually, my apologies, it will go the way of Duval, and Neil Day going to remain in the same spot that he did. In terms of Day's goal to finish in 18th, if he did have that goal, it did go the way of him. But nevertheless, all the cars have pretty much taken the checkered flag in what was a very high-paced, quickly paced race meeting here at Rudskogen, but Danush Barborgi takes that checkered flag not only as your Inter 1 winner, but the overall winner here at Rudskogen for round number 4 of this season. Alex Velasco going to finish 1.8 seconds behind a P2, and Kalen Michaelwitz, practically nothing between himself and Velasco for the final 2 spots on that podium. Then Varun Bali going to finish this race in 4th, Joshua Corrin in P5, Christopher Wang ends up in P6, Jason Cotcher in 7th, and then we have Artur Ganesh. Ganesh, my apologies. Artur.
Athul Ganesh.
I deeply, deeply apologize, Arthur, for that. Thomas Brashear going to finish in 9th, and Jose Navas rounding out your top 10.
We've got Rafael Cardenas coming home in 11th with Kukaran Dillon. I really messed that one up. In 12th with Tyrone De Silva coming home in 13th. Diego Posada in 14th with Aaron Van Wagner in 15th. Tyler Hagan 16th. Adam Duvall in 17th. And Neil Day in 18th position. And let's see if we can get the WD-40 going. Yeah, we can. Rudolfo Samudio in 19th with Igor Grunski coming home in 20th. Ken Glasser in 21st. Ryan Chia 22nd. Jose Fuentes in 23rd. Embriette Hyde in 24th with Paul M coming home 25th. Saburura Vase in 26th. Rene Kundersma in 27th. And look at how far back Stephen Case fell. Went into the pits. Want to know what happened to him. Maybe Jason has a little bit more info on that. Ken Glasser coming home in 29th position, Ron.
And that is going to round out your results from the second race broadcasted here on SMB, the 4th race of this season. But the driver who is a standout star is going to be Danush Barborgi. But we got some drivers waiting in the interview waiting area, looking to have some chats with us. I'm trying to think of. I think Adam, I'll let you take first dibs on who you want to drag in.
So we have gotten a bit of what's the word? Guidance here from the league admin, and we're gonna pull in Alex Velasco first. Alex, man, it was close, dude. I thought you had it, but right at the end, Danush was able to get you. I know there was some lap traffic. How did you deal with all of that?
Primarily just getting through the lap traffic was the struggle. I was struggling on my tires on lap 13. So my rears were getting a little heated. Came up on the lap traffic, and that's kind of what threw me under the bus right there. I don't know. I just left the door open and Danush got by.
Well, yeah, and then obviously Danush had to deal with some traffic going through the final corner of turn 13. Well, they mentioned turn 13 as the left-hander and turn 14 as the right, but really that could be 13/14. First of all, that corner is so long, and you and Danush had such a closing rate on that lap traffic. Is there anything else you think you could have done there, or really that was kind of it? I mean, that was just, you can't, lap traffic can't really get out of the way in the middle of probably one of the longest corners in iRacing.
Yeah. For turn 13, 14, I feel like it was reasonable because you couldn't really go around the outside either. But over at turn was it 7 and 8? The traffic just kind of got in my way and blocked me.
Sure.
Opened the door, and Danush went straight through.
Well, anyways, Alex, it doesn't matter, man. You still came home P2. Obviously, you were sitting in the booth. Well, not sitting in the booth with us last week. You're in the booth with us now, man. But you were a part of the chat last week, and I want to thank you so much, Alex, for all of that. I don't even know where we're going next week, man. This is so crazy. I got to look up the schedule. Actually, why don't we pull it up right now? See, you guys are going to Thruxton next week. You want to talk about draft, Alex. Are you ready for it?
I just bought the track, so we'll find out.
Well, you better get some practice at it, buddy, because you're going to be battling, I think, for most of this 20-minute race. But Alex, before I let you go, is there anybody you want to thank or shout out?
I want to thank you guys for broadcasting, and Jason for setting up SRG.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Alex, and we hope to talk to you again soon, buddy.
Thanks. Cheers.
That was Alex Velasco there real quick. Ron, before we drag somebody else in, let's see. I believe there, again, was a little bit of guidance here, Ron. I just got to find it up here. Oh, you got to love Discord. Here we go. Tyler Hagan. Why don't we go ahead and drag Tyler Hagan in, Ron? And why don't you talk to him about his race?
Yeah, we got Tyler Hagan now joining us in the commentary booth. Now, Tyler, that looked like a really hectic race for all of you drivers up and down the grid here at Rudskogen. So talk us through it from your perspective.
Hey, guys. Yeah, it was a really fun race. I got a decent start, and coming through after lap 1 and just see a line of cars nose to tail all down the front straight was pretty amazing to see. It was pretty hectic. I was having a good time, and then I got a little punch in the gearbox like 3 laps to go. But you know, that's racing, and I recovered, passed him back, and then a couple corners later ended up spinning again, and he got back again. So no love lost between Aaron and I. We're still buddies. But yeah, this track and car combo is so much more fun than this track and the Formula Ford, because coming down the hill in a Formula Ford, you're sitting there going, where do I brake? And am I going to keep going, or am I going to slow down? Am I going to make the turn and throw a couple wings and a little more power on this car? And it's just lightning to drive at this track.
Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, it did look like... Oh.
Sorry, Ron. Real quick, Tyler. We got a little bit of time here. I did want to mention that. We talked about Rudskogen, and I think it was you in the chat, actually, that mentioned, yeah. No, you said you like this track. And
I love this track.
I mentioned, I was like, Tyler, I'm not a huge fan of this track unless you put a high downforce car on it, and then all of a sudden it becomes one of the most fun tracks on iRacing. Short, technical, still some draft you can get around in. So when it comes to your favorite car to drive around this track, is it this one?
Absolutely, hands down.
I think
I haven't run it in the Super Formula Light or the SF23. I think the SF23 would be just instant death on this track, just because it likes to switch.
Confirm.
It likes to switch ends without any driver input sometimes. At least that's what it feels like. But yeah, this F4 is very well suited to this track.
Yeah, so I was just going to mention that, Tyler, and ask you about sort of your experience in this race. And the main point that I was going to ask you about was the sense of community here in the SRG F4 championship.
It is a great championship. It's 30. What do we have? 34, 35 cars out tonight, and you just don't. It's hard to find a community like that. And the community that Jason has built with SRG, built it up from the rookie with, originally it was the Skippy, and then when iRacing released the Formula Ford, we went to that, and we had some pretty epic battles in the Formula Ford with large fields, not quite this size, but 20 cars plus. And then we just step it up with the intermediate league here with the F4, and there's no animosity between drivers. Everybody wants to see everybody do really well. As we see drivers improving their skills from race to race to race, we're always big cheerleaders within the Discord at SRG.
Yeah, it's really nice to be a part of this now that the SRG series is being broadcasted here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Just seeing the sense of community, and that's one of the best things about the iRacing platform. Whenever you find a series that has a real tight-knit community, a lot of respect, a lot of shared interest, and just a love for racing and sim racing and just motorsports, period. Always love to see that in this series. But Tyler, nice to have you here in the commentary booth. I'll ask you one quick question before we let you go and get some time in for the next race at Thruxton. First off, what are your thoughts heading into Thruxton 1 week's time?
Unfortunately, I will be out of town and without access to a rig for the next 2 weeks, so I won't have any input on Thruxton, unfortunately, even though I was very much looking forward to it. It looks like a wicked fun track once you get the hang of it.
Well, fingers crossed that you're going to have a good time on whatever vacation you may find yourself going to potentially over the next 2 weeks, if it is a vacation.
It is definitely not. It is 2 weeks in London with the company. It'll still be fun. Just and sim racing, unfortunately.
A lack of sim racing. Thruxton, a really fun track on the iRacing platform. I'm sure it's going to be a really entertaining race in 1 week's time, and wish you could be a part of it, but life works in some very odd ways. But Tyler, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
I want to give a thanks to Jason and SRG and the entire SRG community. That it's just a phenomenal community. I also want to give thanks to my dad, who instilled a love of all racing in me at a very young age. And I'm very fortunate to get to spend time with him at real life tracks as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us here in the commentary booth, Tyler. And we'll excited to see you back out on the racetrack whenever it is in the not too far off future. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Right there was Tyler Hagan joining us in the commentary booth. And Adam, I think you got one more driver waiting in the interview waiting area, and this is a rather important one. So I'll pass the mic back off to you.
Thank you. Yes, this is a very important driver, a very important person for the league, and someone that I can say that I've actually met. Maybe not kind of face to face, right, Jason? We saw each other through the computer screen.
As good as any, man. As good as any.
Anyways, we have Jason Cotcher here, obviously owner of Sim Racers Group, league admin here as well, setting all of this stuff up. Jason, the first thing I want to ask, first of all, is I know most of your drivers are based out of the West Coast. Most of them, I'm in Reno, Nevada, most of them in California. I know the whole wildfire thing. How is everybody holding up down there?
There's a couple of people in our community that are down there, and personally, they're fine. There are friends and family that have lost houses. I'm a Tahoe kid. It was a handful of years ago when we went through that, and it's very difficult to see the images and know that that's devastating for a lot of people. So fortunately, within our immediate community, people are fine, but it's a small world, even as big as the state and as populated as it is, that you're gonna, high school friends and college buddies and Facebook friends and stuff, you're gonna know someone that was involved. So yeah, first and foremost, heartfelt condolences for those folks and what they're going through. That's awful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to throw my condolences and my prayers out to everybody that's down there right now. Actually, the commentator that was supposed to be on here with us tonight, Jason, you can see we have Ron. It was supposed to be Mike, and Mike is down there in Riverside dealing with all that stuff. So, yeah, huge prayers, and just hope everybody's getting through it. And obviously, communities like this are what help people get through it, which is why I want to get to the next question, Jason. obviously, you are the owner of Sim Racers Group. First of all, walk us through. You did this all on Racing Line. This can be a Cliff Notes version if you don't mind, because this is a broadcast. But kind of walk us through SRG and what your plan was and how it's working out for you.
Yeah, I'm a racer through and through. I wanted to go real world racing as my dad and uncles did, but so it's tough to make it fit the finances and the budget these days. So I found sim racing post COVID. Loved it, got into endurance racing, and it just seemed like there wasn't enough of it around. I understand now that we're approaching somewhere between 30 and 40 sim racing facilities in North America, but it's my dream, it's my passion. I couldn't, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So it's a scary thing to take on a brick and mortar based on a video game. You have to go into it with your eyes open.
Don't you say that. Don't you say that, Jason. You know better than to call it a video game.
Adam gets so mad at me when at a racing simulator. Yeah, but it's gone well, and I've been very, very fortunate to find some awesome people here. Watching the leagues as you do in broadcasting, getting for the folks out there. Love these guys. Couldn't have imagined it coming together any better. So yeah, I just pursued the passion, kind of jumped out there and did it. And, build it and they will come. So
yes.
Super grateful for that. And here we are.
Speaking of build it and they will come, Jason, you mentioned your brick and mortar facility down there. I think you're a little bit further north than I thought. You might actually be a lot closer to me than I thought, honestly, Jason. But with that being said, how many of those drivers that you have in the league tonight, how many of those come in to race at your brick and mortar building?
It's 10 in-house, so about half the field. I guess I have to check my math now. We're up to 30, which is really exciting. So it's 20 drivers logging in from home, and it wouldn't be a league without them. I mean, we started out with 4 and built my leagues based on Weekend Warriors and Stevie Ray and those guys teaching me how to do it right. So it's worked for them. It's worked for me, and we're growing. It's been great. I love these guys, love this league. Shout out to Chris Wang, third I2 win in a row and right on my tail there.
Yes.
And a shout out there to Josh Corwin. He's my sparring partner. We always qualify next to each other. I love racing that guy. It's always clean. It's always respectful. And hopefully it gave you guys something to shout about there.
Well, yeah, it did give us. There was a lot to shout about in a 20-minute race tonight, Jason. I can tell you that. And you just took the words right out of my mouth. I wanted to mention Corwin because, first of all, when you and him are together on track for 20 minutes, do you know how much of a tongue twister it is to say Corwin and Cotcher together at the same time? So one of you guys got to change your last names. I don't know which one of you guys are going to do it. But with that being said, obviously you have battled. We've seen you two battle for the last 2 races. I hope in the future we're going to see a lot more of it. Have you guys just kind of come in together and raced, or did you find each other? How are you guys this close together on pace, at least for the last 2 weeks that we've covered? And has this gone on past that?
Yeah, well, there was a Cars and Coffee event, and Josh and his dad came in to check it out, and they're racers. We joked about having been in the same paddock here and there and never driven in the same class or crossed paths, so just sort of a attraction via, the racing universe. And I used to kick his butt. I tell you, as an admin, 6th place watching the I1 guys trade spots and battle in front of me. The admin is like, this is so cool. Look at what we built. This is fun. And then as the driver, I was like, damn it. Like, I made a mistake. Colin got by me. I could never get him back. So the racer guy is getting a little ego hurt to be, had been killing the league and now running around 7th, I'll tell you. But the admin guy is pretty stoked and very proud of this group and this league. And, most of them, 9 out of the 10 guys in-house showed up never having sat in a sim rig before in their lives.
Unbelievable.
So you don't have to come into the sim racers group with a ton of experience. We've got a rookie league, jump in, have a go, build the skill set. I love to coach. I love to teach. And it's a little bit of a toot your own horn here, but it's been a lot of fun to watch them improve right up until the point that they drive by you. Then now I got to ban the guy. It's awful to say that, but love you, Josh. You're out.
So, Josh, he's got to find somebody else that's a little bit slower than him. So,
Right.
see you later, man. But real quick, I'm gonna throw a jab here at Stevie Ray because obviously you know him very well, and I've gotten to know him extremely well at this point. And I asked Stevie, I was like, Stevie, have you ever won any race in Weekend Warriors? And he looked at me, he goes, yeah, a couple times way back in like season 2 or 3. And then all of the drivers got faster, and I think you're going to get used to that as this league starts to grow, which is exactly what you want. And I'm so glad to be doing this with you, Jason. But very quickly, I had a point about your brick and mortar building and your actual company. We weren't able to get a plug in because the racing was so crazy tonight. So why don't you mind throwing a plug in there for us?
Yeah, come on down to the Sim Racers Group, San Jose, California. If you're a racer or an aspiring racer, or you just love driving cars fast without having to worry about paying for crash damage, we got a reset button for you. Come here, ring it out, your favorite car, your favorite track. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys.
So, Jason, I know you've already thanked a lot of people, but we do this for every person we interview. Anybody you want to thank or shout out before we let you go tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the parents, obviously, always encouraging me even when the chips were down. That's absolutely invaluable. And the friends and family that came out to help me build this place and make it what it is today. Tyler, my business partner, coming in to help reduce some of the workload there. Love watching him rip around in Inter 2, having fun, and everyone that comes into play. I mean, in the podcast, we talked about, I built it from the ground up based on 6 Newton wheel belt drive systems.
Yep.
And they didn't care, and they never said, they never chirped, they never dissed it. They knew what it was and they knew what it could be. And so for the drivers that have been racing here for 2.5 years, it's fun to see them enjoy it and get them into good modern equipment like we have now. They stuck it out. It was their wallets that made it happen, and it's just fun to see it here and to be able to race in and enjoy it. It's better already than I ever imagined that it could be, and hopefully it's a lot of fun to watch and give people something to be entertained about and excited about. Drivers in the league, we're talking about slow motion broadcast and loving the quality and what you guys bring and offer, and it just helps it get out there bigger and better and more exciting. So thank you guys also very much.
Well, your next business venture could be to start a broadcasting company. You never know, Jason. But if you need any help on that, let me know, and I'll tell you. It may be a little bit easier than building a sim racing facility from brick and mortar, but every now and then it gets a little bit tough. And I just looked up San Jose, by the way, Jason. I'll see you next weekend. I'll take that 5-hour drive.
Well, man, yeah, come on by. We'll throw you in a rig. I heard you're fast. I want to see it.
Yeah, well, I don't know who you're hearing that from, but they're all lies, Jason. But anyways, man, thank you so much for the interview. And again, everything you've done, and you're helping build slow motion broadcasting with it. The views that we're getting on just this 20-minute Formula 4 race is just insane. So, Jason, thank you so much for what you're doing for SMB, and I hope to be talking to you again soon.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate you, too. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Adam, Stevie, Josh, the whole SMB crew. It's a match made in heaven. We're digging it. Thanks.
No worries, Jason. I'll talk to you. Good. That was Jason Cotcher there. Again, great guy, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful guy, and all the stuff that he's built up in the SRG world, really nice to see. I've commentated on some races that he's been a part of in the Weekend Warriors world. Nice to hear him talk about the Weekend Warriors stuff, which is another integral part of all of the action here on slow motion broadcasting.
That's a good segue,
very good
Ron.
segue.
Yes. So continue. You already got it. Keep going.
we got the stuff cut up here on slow motion broadcasting, because have it be known that the action just about never stops. Coming up this weekend, we've got the action from the Formula V Weekend Warriors running at Alton Park. The Formula Ford Weekend Warriors going to be running. Actually, did I say the Formula Vs were running at Alton Park? They're running at Okayama. The Formula Fords are running at Alton Park. Gotta get those two squared away. That'd be unfortunate for any Formula V drivers to end up at a different racetrack that's about I don't know, 5,000 miles away from where they actually need to be. But the Formula Fords running at Alton Park, the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior is going to make their appearance at Zolder. And coming up in 1 week's time on Wacky Wednesday, Wild Wednesday, whatever phrase we want to use to describe the Wednesdays here on Slow Motion, we've got the action from Group 3 of the Ray Esports Club Racing League with some Formula V and Spec Racer Ford action at the one, the only Summit Point. And if you want to stay tuned of all the action here from the Sim Racers Group Series, the next race going to be at Thruxton in just 1 week's time. That gives you more of a reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. A night of racing action which has been fantastic, Adam. That 20-minute long race did not have a dull moment in it at all. That was brilliant.
You know, obviously, if you don't know my job, I work on airplanes. I'm a C-130 mechanic up here in Reno, and that's a stressful job. And then I sit down and I do something like this. Holy cow, that is a lot of work. They gave it to us tonight, and they gave me all I could handle on the production side, but it was some unbelievable racing, and I am so glad to have SRG a part of SMB. Holy cow, that's a tongue twister too.
SRG here at SMB, and we are going to have some FUN all throughout this season. We've already had it throughout this broadcast, and the one that came 1 week before it's been very happy to be a part of these broadcasts, serving as a replacement in the early stages of this season for Mike Braun, who was not able to join us in the commentary booth tonight. And as we kind of mentioned in that interview with Jason,
prayers to Mike.
Prayers going out to Mike and his entire family. They're currently without power, I believe. So my thoughts going out to Mike. He is a tremendous guy. Him and I have worked together on the past on some broadcasts. He's a great guy, and he's going to be a fantastic commentator to bring you all the action from the Sim Racers Group Intermediate F4 Championship. But I think from my time on this broadcast and my time on the air here this evening, I think that'll just about do it here, Adam. I don't think we had a discussion as to whether or not you want me to do the broadcast close or what, but I think I'll just do it anyways. For myself, Ron Mons, Adam Thompson joining me in the commentary booth, and also working on the cameras of the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you all wherever it is in the not too far off.
Yeah, dang it! I was going to try to
fish you.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Not too distant fish you.
Yeah,
thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you all wherever it is in the not too distant fish you.